Welcome back, pilots, to Squadrons Update. This week we're going to be covering some pretty big news in regards to the future of Squadrons, with both some official news and, yeah, you guessed it, leaks. And plenty of them. We'll be going over the brand new update that dropped this week, actually just yesterday, as well as several different leaks, such as the possibility of Squadrons maybe soon getting a live service, and even going over 26 unreleased cosmetic items found within the game files. As always, we'll be covering all of this and more in today's video. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. This week saw yet another update be released for Squadrons. And if you've been watching this channel, then you know I've always been praising Motive for their great and consistent work in putting out patches for this game. However, this week's update is a bit of an oddball. And before any Squadrons fanboys jump me on this one, let me explain. Yesterday, the EA Star Wars Twitter account tweeted that the game had received an update, a bit of a surprise update since we weren't notified ahead of time that we would be getting one this week at all, especially after last week's big but impressive update. Well, as it turns out, this week's update titled Update 2.1 is actually nothing more than a hotfix for one bug in story mode, which fixes an issue where the player's view could get locked in place and become unresponsive. That's great to hear that's fixed and all, but misleading folks into thinking this was a legit update rather than a simple hotfix is kind of weird and, I don't know, clickbait? Not to mention, when we had more pressing game-breaking bugs before, we didn't get an entire update to deal with those like here, but rather had to wait for Motive to fix enough bugs to add them to a full patch update. So yeah, like I said, this is just weird. Now, to move on to some actual good news, EA recently announced a list of games that have been enhanced for the next generation of consoles, and are available on them through backwards compatibility. And as you guessed it, this list includes Star Wars Squadrons, which will receive several improvements over the current generation of consoles on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Previously, we were told that Squadrons would not be getting its own next-gen version, and while this of course isn't that, it's still something. Especially considering Squadrons will be getting several improvements on next-gen consoles. And what are these exactly? Well, there are two options: letting you play the game at increased visual quality or increased performance. In increased visual quality mode, the game will have higher quality 3D models, and will run up to 1440p at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series S, and up to 2160p at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X. But if you choose to play increased performance mode, the game will run up to 1440p at 120 FPS, and up to 2160p at 120 FPS on each of the Xbox versions. In addition to this, Motive have also added a variable refresh rate on and off option for those of you with a TV that supports this feature. Squadrons on the PlayStation 5 will also have improved lighting, but the game will run at the same resolution and frame rate as the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is to say somewhere between 1440p and 4K at 60 FPS. So based on this, it's clear that the Xbox Series X will have better next-gen offerings for the game for whatever reason. But either way, this is exciting stuff to hear nonetheless. Even more so if you're a Squadrons player and getting a next-gen console. Alright, with that all out of the way, let's now talk about the leaks. Since even before Squadrons had come out, we kept getting told that it was not going to be a live service game. Rather, whatever it had, that's all we would get. And no other DLC content for it is planned, yada yada yada, you know the story. Suffice to say, this wasn't news that everyone was happy to hear. Especially those of us who heard how limited in content or features Squadrons was, and how much more potential this game really had when it came to other ship types like TIE Defenders, B-Wings, other modes, new maps, and such. Unfortunately, EA and Motive's stance on this was clear. The game is what it is. That's all you're gonna get, take it or leave it. That is until the Mandalorian content update we got, which was a neat little surprise as it contained new cosmetic items. And while small, it's still something that we never expected to even get in the first place, considering Motive did say they wouldn't put out content updates, only patches. Well, it's clear they changed their mind on that one, and perhaps that may be being not the only thing, as despite EA Motive saying they have no plans for a live service in Star Wars Squadrons, one data miner by the name of Rockstar was able to spot a brand new folder in the game files simply called Live Service after the Mandalorian update. Which, hey, that's kinda weird to have in the game that apparently has no plans to get a live service, am I right? Either way, this is at least promising to see. And while it isn't by any means confirmation that Squadrons is getting a live service in the future, it's if anything greatly increased the possibility that we could maybe now get it. And if that's the case, then when? Now, I wouldn't think too much of this if this folder was empty, but that's kind of the thing. It's not, and the data miner Rockstar was able to find 26 brand new cosmetic items in the game files. So these are most likely connected to this secret whatchamacallit live service that Motive have yet to confirm. When looking at these new cosmetic items, there are some great stuff in here, like helmets inspired of Crate Dragon and Rancor designs, and a gold Y-Wing helmet and more. There's even a new uniform set for the Hoth airspeeder pilots that we seen in Empire Strikes Back. And even though it technically doesn't fit in space combat, who cares, it's nice to have nonetheless. The New Republic do also get a couple of new ship paint jobs, with one of them being let's say rather unique, which basically sees you flying in space in a ship covered with moss. Yeah, I did say unique, didn't I? Now the Empire, on the other hand, do have some new cool helmets in here too, as well a new uniform set titled the Imperial Executioner, whom are called to be the Empire's new enforcers after the Battle of Endor. Unfortunately, Rockstar wasn't able to extract the hidden Imperial paint jobs, but based on their icon, they do seem pretty cool. Especially the Wild Space Scourge with its unique purple element. That one I'm really curious to see for myself. Now, as of right now, we have no idea when Motive will be releasing these cosmetic items into the game or whether this is truly planned content for a possible live service. And if so, we'd have to first find out from Motive that they're even planning on adding a live service into the game. And then and only then when it's being enabled. Not to mention how these cosmetic items will even be distributed in the game. Will they be unlocked to purchase from the get-go or locked behind competition requirements? Either way, this is still good to see and hear for the future of the game, which I've been saying for a while now that it needs a steady release of new content to keep it fresh like so many other games are doing these days. Plus, God knows a private match mode also wouldn't hurt either. But until the next time, this will do it for your Squadrons update. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but also keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.